Hey everyone, welcome to part 1 of our perfume bottle visualization tutorial. In this segment, we'll focus on modeling the elegant shape of the bottle using Blender's powerful tools. Whether you're a beginner or looking to sharpen your skills, you'll pick up some handy tips along the way. By the end, you'll have a stunning perfume bottle ready for texturing in the next part. So let's jump right in and get started. All right. So first things first, we need a clean slate, right? Let's select everything in the scene and delete it by pressing A to select all, and then X to delete. Now let me quickly enable the screencast keys tool so you can see every button I press. You'll notice it popping up in the bottom left corner for reference. All right, now we're going to start building our perfume bottle, and we'll begin with a simple cube. To add one, press Shift-H. Navigate to Mesh, and choose Cube. Next, let's jump into edit mode by pressing Tab, and we're going to scale this cube up just a little bit. You can press S to scale it up uniformly. Now let's add some loop cuts to start shaping the bottle. Press Ctrl R, move your mouse over the cube, and you'll see a yellow line that lets you add a loop cut. Click to confirm and slide it, or press Enter if you want it to stay centered. We'll do this twice to add a couple of loop cuts around the bottle. Next, we need to refine the shape. Select the vertex here at the top, and we're going to delete it by pressing X and choosing Vertices. Now hold Alt and select this edge loop here. That's a quick way to select an entire loop of edges. Then press E to extrude the edges, but right-click to snap it back into place. Then press S to scale it down. Here's a nice little feature. With this edge loop still selected, let's make it a perfect circle. If you have Loop Tools enabled, right-click, go to Loop Tools, and select Circle. If you don't see this option, make sure you enable the Loop Tools add-on by going to Edit Preferences, then searching for Loop Tools and checking the box to enable it. Great. Now let's press E again to extrude the edges upward, and then press Z to constrain the movement along the Z axis, making it nice and straight. All right, this is coming along. Let's tab back into object mode by hitting Tab. And now we're going to smooth things out by adding a bevel modifier. Go to the Modifiers tab, select Bevel, and change the angle to 45 degrees. Now let's add a subdivision surface modifier to round things out even more, and bump up the viewport level to 2 to make it smoother. Then apply the bevel modifier by clicking Apply. Next, we need to make some adjustments back in edit mode, so hit Tab to go back. Hide the subdivision surface modifier by clicking this icon. It looks like a monitor so we can work more clearly. Then hold Alt and select this edge loop here. We're going to scale it down just a bit to match the top better. All right, now let's turn our subdivision surface modifier back on to check how things are looking. Press Ctrl R to add another loop cut along the edge and slide it up towards the top to sharpen that part. Let's start working on some details. Select this face here in face select mode. You can press 3 to quickly switch to face select mode. Then hold Shift and select this other face too. Now, press Ctrl+ on the numpad a few times to grow your selection outward. Once selected, press SX to scale everything along the X-axis, giving it a wider shape. Next, let's get this edge loop sorted. Select it, press E to extrude, right-click to snap it back in place, and press S to scale it down. Press E again to extrude one more time, and S to scale it down again, and then press F to fill in the face. Now, let's sharpen things up by adding another loop cut with Ctrl R and sliding it right under the top edge. Looking good. We've got the base shape of our perfume bottle, and it's starting to take form. All right, now it's time to add some thickness to our perfume bottle model. But before that, let's smooth things out by shading the model smooth. To do this, right-click on the model in Object Mode and select Shade Smooth. Next, we're going to reposition the model a bit. Press G for grab, and then Z to move it upwards along the Z-axis. This just helps us center things nicely in the scene. Now we want to duplicate this model to create an intersection. Press D to duplicate the model, and then right-click to snap it back into place without moving it. After that, press Alt-Z to switch to X-ray mode. This allows us to see through the model and make precise adjustments. Now let's scale the duplicated object down a bit by pressing X and scaling it to fit inside the original bottle. Move it up just a bit using G+Z to position it. Once it looks good, press Alt-Z again to go back to the solid view. Now let's make some modifications to both objects. First, select the original model, press Tab to enter edit mode, and select the top face of the bottle. Press Ctrl++ on the numpad to grow the selection. Once you've selected the faces, press X and choose Faces to delete them. Do the same thing for the second duplicated model. Enter edit mode, select the top face, grow the selection with Ctrl++, and then delete the faces. At this point, I want to show you something. Go to the Overlays menu at the top right and enable Face Orientation. This shows you which way the normals, or the front side of each face, are facing. You'll notice that the first bottle is blue, which is correct, but if you hide that bottle, the second one is also blue, which we need to change. We want the inner bottle to have red faces, meaning the normals are flipped inward. To fix this, unhide the second bottle, enter Edit Mode, press A to select everything, and then go to Mesh Normals Flip. This flips the normals so the inner bottle is correctly oriented. Now, when you unhide both bottles, we have the inner and outer parts correctly set up. Finally, turn off face orientation by unchecking it in the Overlays menu. Next, we'll join these two objects together. Select both the inner and outer bottles, press Ctrl-J to join them into one object, and enter Edit Mode. Now select the bottom edge loop of the bottle, press E to extrude it, and S to scale it down. Press E again, and Z to extrude along the Z-axis to create the bottom of the bottle, then press F to fill the bottom face. This part doesn't need to be perfect since it won't be visible in the final render, but it completes the shape of our model. Now it's time to model the cover for the perfume bottle. While still in edit mode, select the edge loop near the top of the bottle that we'll use for the cap. Press Shift-D to duplicate it, and right-click to snap it back into place. Now we need to separate this new geometry. Press P and choose Selection to make it a separate object. Switch back to object mode, select the new cap object we just created, and then go back into edit mode. Press A to select all the vertices, and then press E to extrude it upwards along the Z-axis to form the cap. Press E one more time to extrude again, and then S to scale it down slightly to give it a tapered look. Finally, press F to fill the top face of the cap, closing it off. All right. Let's continue by adding some sharpness to the cover of our perfume bottle. First, press Ctrl-R to add a loop cut, and then slide it up near the top of the cover. This will help sharpen the edges. Do the same again by pressing Ctrl-R and adding another loop cut, sliding it up to add definition. To solo the cover and make things easier to work on, press the backslash on your keyboard. This will isolate the selected object from the rest of the scene. Next, we'll refine the top of the cap. In edit mode, select the edge loop near the top, press E to extrude it, and then S to scale it down. After that, press X to fill the top face, creating a clean, flat top. To further sharpen the details, press Ctrl-R again and add another loop cut just below the top edge of the cap. Then, add one more loop cut near the base of the cover by pressing Ctrl-R again, giving the cover a solid and refined structure. Now, hit the backslash again to bring back the rest of the model so we can see everything in the scene. With the cover looking good, press A to select everything in object mode, and then scale it up by pressing Est. To avoid scaling on the Z-axis, press Shift-Z while scaling. This will make sure you're only affecting the X and Y axes, which keeps the proportions intact. Next, let's add some loop cuts to refine the details of the bottle. Press Ctrl-R and scroll the mouse wheel to add multiple loop cuts near the center of the bottle. These cuts will help maintain the structure during smoothing. Now switch to Face Select mode by pressing 3 or using the toolbar. Hold Alt and Shift to select a ring of faces around the bottle. Then press Shift-D to duplicate the selected faces and right-click to snap them back in place. We want to separate these duplicated faces into a new object. Press P and choose Selection. This creates a new object out of the selected faces. In object mode, select the new faces we just separated and let's give them some thickness. Add a solidify modifier from the modifiers panel. Make sure you move the solidify modifier above the subdivision surface modifier in the stack. Set the thickness to around 0.1 to create a thin outer layer. Don't forget to shade smooth by right-clicking and choosing shade smooth to keep it looking clean. Now let's parent everything to the bottle to ensure they move together. Press A to select all the objects in the scene, then hold Shift and select the bottle last. You'll know it's the active object because it'll be highlighted in the outline. Once selected, press Ctrl P and choose Object, keep transform. Now, whenever you move the bottle, all the other parts move with it, keeping everything intact. And that wraps up part 1 of our perfume bottle tutorial. Great job on creating the model. We've built a solid foundation and your bottle is looking fantastic. In part 2, we'll dive into texturing to give it that polished professional look. You can find the link to part 2 in the description below or click on the link on the screen to watch it now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss it. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next part.